All right, welcome, revelers. This is Off the Rails, Right versus Left, the podcast that we do because we think the left is evil. I'm Rob B.
And I'm Brad Lee.
And I'm Brian G.
And we are Off the Rails, Right versus Left. Again, we're doing this show because we think everybody needs to know that the left is evil.
Classic.
Welcome, revelers. It's been a crazy week since the last time we were here. The Trump indictment finally came down, so that's breaking news. We had a big shooting. We've got basically the Nazis are on the march, the Democrats. And yeah, there's a lot to get into on that one. So, of course, as always, I'm Rob B. And with me is
Brad Lee.
And we're off the rails. We're going to get off the rails. We're going to try and keep it moderately toned down for about the first 15 minutes. And then I'm going to
We'll get straight into the donkey show.
All right. Well, there isn't really going to be a donkey show, but when you see the donkey later, that's going to be the cue that you need to go over to Rumble/OTRRVL. That's Rumble/OTRRVL for Off the Rails, Right versus Left. And you'll be able to follow the rest of the show there. Because obviously we're like a week away from losing our last strike on, or not even a week, like 3 days away from losing our last strike on HitlerTube. So we want to make sure that we don't get kicked off there, so we can still at least try to get monetized, or at least don't have our shit pulled down, or our channel pulled. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So anyway, so later we're going to tell you that we're turning off the YouTube stream, and you'll have to switch over to Rumble, and then we'll hit it with the donkey before we switch over.
Let's make YouTube beg for us to come back.
Yeah, that would be nice. We're getting better views on Rumble anyway, so yeah, definitely we appreciate the Rumble community. Love all the work that so many people are doing to create a parallel economy to save us from these woke-ass bastards. The work that Daily Wire's doing, that Timcast is doing, the Blaze TV, all of that. It's all
Steven
awesome.
Crowder.
Yeah, so and then Rumble and
Dan Bongino. Well, Steven Crowder just signed a big old contract with Rumble.
Yeah, and then of course Twitter.
Yeah. Well,
thank you. Elon Musk.
People are mad that when we get into that section of our show, which we need to speed up a little bit because we don't want to go over an hour. People are mad that the people were getting they were getting thrown in Twitter jail because they were reposting that Trans Day of Vengeance. Republicans are pissed, and so are fucking Democrats. I'm like, no, dude. I get that you're trying to make it aware, but that whole flyer and the purpose of that was to incite violence.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Democrats always incite violence. They always have, and they always will.
Right.
Maxine Waters called for violence after Roe v. Wade was overturned. You had the only people arrested during the BLM riots were people that were actually committing acts of violence, and you had our vice president getting them bailed out of jail. I mean, the left is okay with violence, and now they literally are. They're the ones perpetuating this BS trans genocide, which is a completely false narrative. There is a difference between you aren't touching my child and I want you dead. There's a huge difference. Nobody is saying they want trans people to die, but you do need to stay away from children, you pedophile freaks.
Yep.
And that's it. And that's the thing. And it's not about gay, it's not about trans. Shoot, I should have recorded that video. There are video of trans people saying, I am not part of the LGBTQI plus ampersand, hashtag, whatever. There are like actual intersex people that are not part of that community for the very reason that they are going after children. They are trying to program children that are not intersex to think that they are transgender. Like, and there are true intersex people that literally have the wrong chromosomes for their body, or they don't have the genitalia for their chromosomes, one or the other. Or they have both sets and they're hermaphroditic.
And that's fine. They can't help that. But these other people that obviously are mentally unstable, we're giving them the wrong fix.
Dude, all of this is Soros. Like, how old is he? Like 500 years old? He's had all of this in plan and in motion for decades. Like, he started by like going and like backing like people from the Communist Party to go get educations so they could get into positions of power and education. And first he went for the colleges and universities, and he turned them into an activist class during the Vietnam War. And then he went into the elementary school. So then the whole next generation, they were already like halfway activists by the time they got to college. And then he went for the corporations, and like he's got all the politicians in the pockets. Oh, dude, did you see this? What's his name from Project Veritas? What was the guy's name?
O'Keefe.
O'Keefe. Did you see O'Keefe's new project?
No, I heard about it, but I haven't seen anything.
So millions and millions of dollars were donated to the Democratic Party, and say, like, for example, somebody made one donation.
Oh yeah. And then they would say that they donated like $2,000 and
no, like $2,000, like 36, 38, 40 times. Like one little old couple on Social Security sent in a $10 donation, had like 156 donations made in their names, totaling $236,000.
Holy shit.
Gee, I wonder where the Democrats keep out fundraising the Republicans, even though they have like no message.
Right.
Like everything that they say is batshit crazy, yet people are giving them buckets full of money because one person's giving them money, George Soros. Now, please explain to me how Russia getting the truth out is interference in an election, but George Soros, who's what, Swedish or German?
I think he's he's a German Jew.
Okay. Oh, that's right. He was German because he was helping him kill his own people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So what we have here is a Nazi, an actual Nazi, funding the Democrat Party.
We skipped over the Trump indictment.
Yeah. Well, we'll back up to it. Okay. Anyway, so the indictment of Trump. We did kind of skip that. Anyway, so I mean, it's basically a big no-go. Okay. If they do charge him, because just because he's indicted doesn't mean he's going to get charged.
Right. That just
because
means
the prosecutor still has to be able to prove a case. Like they say, you can indict a ham sandwich. There is no like counter case. Like, I'm shocked he got. Well, I mean, it just shows how biased New York is. Mm-hmm. I think the first thing that his lawyers would be arguing for is a change of venue, because there's no way he's getting a fair trial in Manhattan.
Right.
So hopefully he can get moved to, like, well, maybe not Albany, but like Buffalo or something, and he might have a better shot. So beyond that, though, like, they don't have the evidence for the case. The actual crime is past the statute of limitations. He's trying to bootstrap something that he can't even prove that Trump even knew about, because all the documentation says Trump didn't even know about it. The lawyer just did it as part of his normal, like, cleanup duties. And was only billing him for his labor and paid for it out of his pocket, like, sign that letter. And now, when it's convenient for him to get his sentence reduced because he was convicted of perjury, we're supposed to believe he wouldn't perjure himself again to get out of prison.
Right.
Like, this is a dude that was going to try and kill himself to avoid going to jail. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, like, the whole thing's a joke, but the funny thing is what they're trying to do is pump up conservatives to get violent.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and it's not going to happen. Exactly. Unless we're provoked into it.
So
like
I will.
like Kyle Rittenhouse.
I am wondering though, like as bad as things are getting in this country, when does it get to that tipping point to where it just like busts out into a full-grown civil war? Like a lot of the initial battles of the Civil War were little skirmishes, like along the borders and the territories and stuff like that. But most civil wars are like pockets, like here and there and everywhere. And like, how much longer before you end up with people in the rural areas fighting with people in the urban areas? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like an open assault. And like, I mean, because it's getting there. Like, what? Something like 3,000 pregnancy crisis centers have been firebombed. Dozens of people have been killed by Antifa people, and now the trans people. This is their 4th mass shooting by trans people. And they're like telling, I mean, so you can't blame them. First of all, these people are mentally ill. We already know they're mentally ill because it's in the DSM. Like, it is a mental illness. Okay? So you're telling mentally ill people, these people want to kill you. It's a genocide. Well, if you think, okay, so Brad, we're both Second Amendment practicing Americans. If we suddenly saw that white Christians had a genocide going against them, are we going to wait for them to come for us? No.
Nope.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's what they're doing to the trans people. They're intentionally inciting mentally ill people to violence. And then they turn around and try and blame it on the guns. Well, guess what? I'm pretty sure it's a gun that stopped that shooting.
Yeah, that's exactly.
You know what?
A gun has stopped every single shooting, whether it be a police officer's, a good guy with a gun, or the gunman's own gun.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically how it ends. But like, I mean, like every BS narrative around this, like, can be like picked apart. So I actually wonder, you know, I wish that we didn't have a partisan FBI, because I wonder if somebody like Soros, who's obviously trying to tear down the fabric of our nation and our society and our culture across the West, isn't funding these shooters in some of these cases. And that's complete, like, conjecture. I don't have any evidence of that, but it seems to me that the man, like, does seem to like to pay to get killers out of jail. Like, he's literally helping get elected, which, how is a foreign citizen meddling in our elections and nobody's saying anything about it? Like, he's the top Democrat donor. He is not a U.S. citizen. What the hell is he doing donated in U.S. elections? So, although, you know, I heard a guy, he was like actually speaking at some event, and he was like ripping the U.S. media, talking about, you know, like the way Americans were whining about Russians interfering in the elections. He's like, yeah, and I bet all the people in Central and Latin America are sitting there going, imagine that. A foreign country interfering in your elections. We couldn't know what that's about.
Right.
Because the U.S. does it around the world. Like, we influence elections in every single country that has elections. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we fund the groups. Like, we paid for the Pink Revolution. Now, granted, my understanding from the Ukrainian people that I knew, at least in Western Ukraine, like, they were very much about becoming part of Europe. Most of them feel like they're part of Europe. Actually, most Western Russians felt like they should be part of Europe too. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, I mean, back in the day, like, I mean, you go all through, like, the Russian language, and there's tons of words in French because their aristocracy was right in line with the French aristocracy. Like, a couple of the brides and shit came from the French aristocracy. So, like, they really didn't have anything against Europe until, like, World War I, when it was, like, the 3rd time they got invaded by Europeans. Like, I got invaded by the Ottoman Empire. They got invaded by Napoleon. They got invaded by the Germans in World War I. So, like, Anyway, that's way off the rails.
Sure, they got invaded by fucking Genghis Khan too.
Well, yeah, most of Russia is actually Mongol territory, which means it should be part of China. I don't know if you like noticed that China's really not like Russia was trying to build another pipeline to bring natural gas from Siberia, and Russia won't get on board with it. You know why?
So China won't get on board with it?
Yeah, China won't get on board with it because Russia stole all that from China anyway. And Russia, the Soviet Union, propped up Mongolia to split off from China.
Oh,
Kind of funny, right? When you start looking
yeah.
back, like everything that every one of these politicians like complain about, other countries doing, their country has done.
Right.
Like, so like Putin has no valid arguments. Like all the land he's trying to get back was land that they stole from somebody.
Kind of like the
Like
Indians.
the
Kind of like the Native Americans of today.
Well, no, it's actually more fucked up than that, because it would actually be like if the Native Americans got their own country. Oh, well, like they have their tribal lands now, right? It would be like the U.S. government goes and invades the tribal land, saying that they need to be reunified with the United States because they were historically a part of the United States.
Right. Or saying that we need,
because the reality is Russia doesn't exist without Ukraine.
Well, or saying that, you know, we need to give the land back to the Indians. Well, which ones? Which ones? Well, you give it back to the Paiute Indians. Well, where did the Paiute Indians get it from? Oh, they got it from the Navajos. Oh, so which? It's the same. It's the same.
Yeah, I mean, even there, the Rus and Slavic tribes, like the Slavs and the Rus people were fighting constantly, anyways. And the Kievan Rus just ended up being the strongest of the Slavic nations, and that's how the Kievan Rus ended up forming, right? But the Kievan Rus ended up spreading east and ended up getting all the way over to Moscow. So, like, that's how that works. So it's like funny. Now you flip back to our politics, and it's so funny. Like they said, like Republicans were trying to persecute Hillary Clinton. Okay, but she literally paid for an illegal document from her campaign funds.
Yeah, but they were
and
trying
filed
to
it as and filed it as a legal expense, which this was filed as legal fees, which is what they're claiming the crime was, and she got a fine.
Yeah, they weren't trying to. They weren't trying to persecute her. They were trying to prosecute her. Right.
Well, in this case, they're trying to persecute Trump because they looked and like Trump didn't even have any.
Well, even DeSantis has come out and said that he will not support extradition efforts.
Well, it's about time that he said something nutty, dude. He's starting to look like a little bitch.
Yeah.
Like I like DeSantis, but dude, he's taking it on the chin from fucking Trump, like he's LGBT.
No, I don't, dude. Seriously, I don't know. It seems like he might be running, but I don't know. You can never tell. I don't know. Anybody?
All right, we've been over 15 minutes, so guess what time it is?
Time to get off of YouTube. Get out of the donkey show.
Yeah, it's time for the donkey show. So we're going to be kicking off the YouTube people. So once again, our peeps on YouTube, go over to Rumble, otrrvl, Off the Rails, Right versus Left.
That's right.
Or you can even go to my personal page, Rob E. Brown, and you can follow our show there. But we're jumping off of YouTube because now we're going to cut less with the filtered. Yes, that was us filtered. So go to Rumble and see what we really have to say. Hit the donkey while I'm doing this.
Oh, hit the donkey. The donkey. Hold on a second.